We are the talk of Chicago. 1690 WVON.
All right, brothers and sisters, we are back. WVON 1690, the talk of Chicago. You're listening to Straight Words. Go to our website, StraightWords.com, to find out how you can help participate in keeping this program on the air and make a donation on our website at StraightWords.com. StraightWords.com. All right, brothers and sisters, Brother Naba'a Richard Muhammad is the host of this great program, 3 hours of power, life and power, right here on WVON. And, of course, our other big brother, James G. Muhammad, is on. I'm Brother BJ. And we got Brother Illia Rashad Muhammad. He is a UFO scholar on the research team of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We're going to talk to him in just a few minutes. But I know Brother Naba'a had some more comments that he wanted to make about the Devontae Mitchell case in Milwaukee. We were just telling you about that, what happened to him at that hotel. They killed him, a similar George Floyd incident concerning another black man.
Yeah, thank you, Brother BJ. First, Brother Ronald question. Again, there are articles in the 14th Amendment that changed the 3/4 clause and one that overturned it. But again, as I said, that's on paper. Paper got to be enforced by people. And if people don't enforce what's on the paper, guess what? Ain't nothing changed. So you can see by the way they treat us, like this poor brother in Milwaukee, man. They don't see us as fully human. I just want to say a couple things, and I'm actually get off, brother, and I got some stuff I need to tend to. But the other thing, Brother BJ, and thank you for bringing this to my attention. I hadn't heard about it. And we need to reach out to this brother's family and talk to them. And we got something else that happened in Aurora, Colorado, where our young brother Elijah McClain died at the hands of police and EMTs. But I saw, Brother BJ, a TV interview with one of the men, a black man, that was involved in the death of this brother. Now, this man was not security. He was a daggone bellman. But he said in the interview, his boss, supervisor, manager, whatever, told him to get involved, and he did. He's one of the ones sitting on the man. Mm-hmm. And he was scared. He didn't want to lose his job. But you know, Brother BJ, a few days after it happened, they fired him for violence in the workplace. Right? And now he may be facing charges in the death of this man. Now he trying to, say, well, he don't feel like he should be charged because basically his manager told him to do it. Brothers and sisters, if you don't stop being so damn obedient to these devil, satanic people, and doing whatever they say, you better start learning how to tell them like you tell your wife and your husband. I ain't doing that. See, we get real clear with one another about what we're going to do and what we ain't going to do. But somehow or another, we seem to lack that clarity. Now the brother that was part of the death, the bellman talking about he can't sleep at night. Then he started telling on other people, Brother BJ, that one of the guys was punching a man and beating him with a baton. Too late now, bro. And I'm sorry, man. Look, I feel the same way about this that I feel like about the black cops that beat this brother, Tyree Nichols, to death in Atlanta, man. It was Atlanta, right? Or was it? No, Memphis.
Memphis, yes, sir.
Memphis. Beat this poor brother in Memphis. No sympathy, man. See, you better learn that the way of your slave master and this unquestionable obedience gonna get you in trouble. You better learn to say no and stand up like a man with your dignity and find another job, or better, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, make a job for yourself. See, if we would just unify, we could make jobs, man.
That's right.
40 million of us, if we unify, we could make jobs. If we were more discriminating in our spending, which many people are becoming today now. More and more black folks today taking that Bob Black thing quite seriously. So I'm gonna leave it at that, brothers. May Allah bless you, man. And
yes, sir.
Man, white people are not God, y'all.
That's right.
They ain't God. They're not the ultimate power in the universe. And I'll end with that. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. All right. Brother James G. Muhammad, Brother BJ, we are here with you. Brother Naba''s going to jump off for a minute. And we got our great brother, UFO scholar on the research team of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, one of our great ministers, student ministers of the Nation of Islam, Brother Illia Rashad Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, dear brother. How are you, sir?
Doing wonderful. Always wonderful to hear your voice. Me and Brother James G., we're going to be talking to you about the UFO phenomenon, and you've been doing this tour all over the country, brother. And, man, brother, when you talk about this truth, this reality of the information that we have in the Nation of Islam, this is the most fascinating information in the universe. Nobody can question it. And we want to tell the world that we know the reality of what's going on above your head. So, brother, why don't you just go off and go into it how you want to go into it, and talk about the tour and how that's been going and what's been the response from people all over the country.
Oh, yeah. Well, you got it, Brother BJ. And thanks to you and Brother Naba'a and Brother James G. for having me once again. And I think it's the right time to be talking about this subject matter of UFOs, or as they call it now, UAP. And you are exactly right, Brother BJ. We have been blessed to travel this country over the past 6 months or more, since January, going to several different cities throughout this country, screening our documentary film, aptly titled Answered. And we titled this film Answered because we are letting the world know that when it comes to this so-called UFO phenomena, when it comes to these crafts that world governments and militaries have expended countless billions and trillions of taxpayer dollars to try to study and even try to fight against, we want to let the world know with verity that we literally have the answers to this so-called phenomena. And this is at the core of the Nation of Islam's teaching. It is at the core of our history. This is a history that is verifiable by historical and even government records, that the Nation of Islam is directly and inherently involved in what is called the UFO phenomena. So to try to put it in a nutshell, we have produced a documentary series, and the tour that we've been on is the second installment in that documentary series titled Answered. And this one is subtitled The Coming of God. And Brother BJ and Brother James, we are so happy to bring this tour aspect of this screening to a close. And what better place to do so than the great city of Chicago? Really, the true Mecca of Islam, or Medina of Islam in the Western Hemisphere. Chicago, the headquarters of the Nation of Islam. Chicago, the great city that in many respects, lead so many of the movements, be it in the way of civil rights and black struggles and freedom fighters. You know, we're proud to end the tour with the finale in Chicago, not only because it's in Chicago, but at the headquarters of the Nation of Islam, the National Center, Mosque Maryam. So that's this upcoming weekend. We've been blessed to have been invited by Big Brother, Student Minister Ismail Muhammad, and really the Executive Shura Council of the Nation of Islam, the executive and governing body of this great nation of ours. So this is really a big thing. We're excited about it because it's more than just a movie, more than just a documentary per se, but what we offer in terms of the content of this film is really a course of study that everybody should be checking out. So we're excited about this whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, I'll talk all day if you let me, brother.
Go ahead, man. We like listening to you. Yes, sir. So the documentary, of course, is coming up this weekend. But we want everybody to come and witness this because, see, what everybody's got to know, Brother Illia, that the United States government knows the reality of the wheel, but we don't know.
Exactly.
And these wheels are tied directly to the Nation of Islam, brothers and sisters. We can boldly say that because we have the truth. Talk about what the government knows that our people may be oblivious to, what the astronauts know that go out in space that have seen the craft. And a lot of people have seen it, but talk about what the government knows that they're afraid to share. And of course, they know that these powers are directly connected to us, so they really can't validate who we are.
And what the government knows is that, and what they've been knowing since at least the early 1940s, is the fact that there are some vastly superior craft that are around and in and among Earth and its atmosphere that can travel out in space. And these vastly superior craft have frequently been encountered by not just civilians all throughout this Earth, which goes to the hundreds of millions, but these crafts have encountered some of the world's most advanced and secretive nuclear and military weapons projects and bases. You may have noticed in the last decade or so, almost 20 years, that so many retired Air Force and military personnel have come forth talking about how these wheels, these disc-shaped craft, have been interfering with their most advanced nuclear and military projects, literally shutting down their communication systems, literally destabilizing their nuclear warheads. And these are the same craft that the Nation of Islam introduced to the world in the early 1930s. So the government and military is well aware of not only the existence of these crafts, but the superiority of these crafts. And this is why our government is hell-bent on making sure that the public does not know the truth about these crafts. Because if we know the truth about these crafts, then the people would likely wake up almost instantaneously.
That's an important point. Well, you raised out a bunch of important points, but the fact that you just said that it was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that introduced to the world the fact that these crafts existed, and then the U.S. government went forth from there to try to find out more. But before I ask you my question, I just want to make sure everybody knows that your documentary will be shown at Mosque Maryam on Saturday. And I don't have what time, so maybe you can let us know. And it's free.
Sir, 7 to
so it's open
9:30.
to the public. 7 to 9:30.
Open to the public, 7 to 9:30. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And it's free and open to the public.
That's right. Free admission. Yeah. Now, everywhere that we've gone thus far, it has not been free admission. But this being the finale, we want to make a statement. And we want the public, because that's what it's about. It's about the public being made aware. So we are literally inviting not only our people, but we are inviting the critics. Mm-hmm. You know, the critics and the skeptics who are somewhat skeptical as to what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam has been teaching about this. We want to make it very clear that the position of the Nation of Islam is not a position that's limited to just some religious viewpoint. We are literally challenging, respectfully, the scholars and academics and leaders of the world to engage us in a dialogue about what arguably can be considered the most important topic on this earth. And I say that it's arguably the most important topic because what the world has been crying out for is freedom, justice, and equality. And the truth. And what we are offering is the very truth that leads to true freedom, true justice, and equality. So the existence of these crafts, these disc-shaped, wheel-shaped planes that are superior than any military or government technology known to man, the truth about these crafts is really at the top priority of America's national security, of the Western world and their military's national security. So if it's important enough for these governments to use our taxpayer dollars for several decades to keep this information away from us, surely we should find some importance in it.
So yeah, but Ilya, that's what I was referencing. How great and incredible in some folks' eyes that the knowledge of these objects or crafts came from a black man who barely got to the fourth grade, and what he revealed has been held as above top secret by the United States government, even while other governments around the world were openly discussing this. But just talk about the fact that it came from a black man, and that's, and we normally don't believe what a black man or a black leader will tell us, but yet white folks are verifying this, and they're citing it as the most complicated and highly intelligent craft that exists on the planet.
Yes, it is very sad that many of our people have often rejected the clear truth being posed by the Nation of Islam, mostly because white folks didn't approve of it. So now we are living in a day and time where information is so vast, and we can fact check things and we can verify the evidence and credibility of things and people. But the Nation of Islam is offering this very valid truth. And it's so sad that we even live in a day and time when people refuse to even engage us in intelligent dialogue. And I'm talking about the leaders, those who are supposed to be the scholars and leaders of this world, people who are supposed to be the ones who are willing to engage in those difficult conversations, people who are supposed to be our educators, who are supposed to engage in critical thinking. And they'll apply critical thinking to any and everything except when it comes to the Nation of Islam. Except when it comes to this truth. Because, as I stated earlier, we are not coming from the position of just religious, viewpoints. But what we are sharing with the world is grounded in evidence. It's grounded in history. It is grounded in fact. And we welcome all of the scholars and academics to challenge us on this.
And that makes me wonder, well, what else did Mr. Muhammad say that we really need to be taking another look at? But one other question I have for you before BJ jumps back in. Tell us a little bit about, how you got interested in doing this kind of research, and, how long have you been in the nation, but more specifically, what piqued your interest in this, and what were some of the paths that you took to get to the point where now you have a documentary that is outstanding and you're presenting it to the world?
Yes. Well, I joined the Nation of Islam as a teenager, fresh out of high school. I got registered in 1995. I started coming to the mosque in 1994. That's when I graduated high school. And I got registered in 95. And even before accepting my own in the Nation of Islam, I heard stories and I heard information about what the Nation of Islam taught and believed concerning this mother plane or mother weave and these 1,500 baby planes that are wheel-shaped. Now, be mindful, this is before the internet was a thing. And so during that time, and then times before that, the Nation of Islam had frequently been mocked for this strange teaching because during those days, the evidence was not as overwhelmingly available as it is today. So people were calling the Nation of Islam crazy. People were calling us crazy for decades. And if you can pardon my language, I would hear things like this when they would talk about the nation. They would say, man, those niggas believe in spaceships.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And this is what I heard even before joining the nation. So I was a bit apprehensive because that sounded outlandish to me as a teenager. Upon joining the nation and learning that this is a core part of the theology that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was given by God in person, it behooved me as a college student, as a thinker, to at least study this very important aspect of the Nation of Islam. And lo and behold, over time, we now see how all the evidence proves that Elijah Muhammad was 1,000% correct. All the evidence proves that Minister Farrakhan has been 1,000% correct and right and exact. And now that the evidence proves that these men have been on it the whole time, now it seems like all his critics, all the enemies are too afraid to engage us on this conversation that decades ago they used to mock us about.
That's right.
We find this quite hypocritical on the part of those leaders and whatnot. And that's also what motivates us and why we're so excited about producing content like this documentary, Answered, the Coming of God, because it showcases the veracity and verity and truth of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And it's made in a way where it's so plain that pretty much a 6-year-old child can see it now.
That's beautiful, brother. So we're going to see it this coming Saturday, July the 20th, 7351 South Stony Island Avenue. That is the home of Mosque Maryam, the headquarters of the Nation of Islam. It's at 7 p.m. this Saturday. You can come and witness this for yourself. Answer the coming of God. And Brother Illia Rashad Muhammad is putting on this documentary, and other brothers and sisters who also research this information. And the other thing, Brother Illia, that people got to understand is that when the FBI arrested the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they took all of his renderings, everything that he had, and they wanted to keep that away from the public. They didn't want you to know that this man knew this, and they still have this information in their files, and people don't know that. They're not equating that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has known the whole time, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is so bold in telling you the truth. And I want you to go into his wheel-like experience, September 17th, 1985, that he's been telling the world about his experience on the wheel.
That's right. All of that's true, big brother. It's true that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was arrested in 1942, just in the aftermath of the U.S. Armed Forces encountering some of these wheels that only he and the Nation of Islam were on record talking about. So he was arrested in 1942 by the FBI under the orders of President Franklin Roosevelt. And not only was he arrested, but he was questioned and interrogated by the FBI specifically about these planes. Now, keep in mind, this is before the UFO phenomena even became a thing. This is before flying saucers and before any official UFO investigations or any mass sightings. They arrested the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, questioned him about his connection to these planes, these so-called UFOs that they had encountered just a few months prior, and then they incarcerated him for about 5 years so that they can keep him off the streets and keep him from teaching this type of truth to the public. That is actually the beginning of the official UFO cover-up. It started when they arrested and locked up the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that cover-up continues to this day. When you have Minister Farrakhan, who is the representative of that power you call UFOs, and he has for decades now blatantly told the world about his connection to these craft, his experiences upon these craft, and he's warned governments of the world and challenged them that if they wanted to mock him about this, that they would witness these crafts. And it is so peculiar that when Minister Farrakhan gives these public warnings about his connection to these so-called UFOs, these planes respond to him right afterwards in such a way for the world to see. But yet, his critics, who are the most powerful people on this planet, his critics, which includes the U.S. government, his enemies, which includes and involves the Zionist powers that control much of the media and political legislation and financial institutions and world banking market. Those are Farrakhan's enemies. Yet, none of these powerful entities and enemies of his will even question him about his connection to these so-called UFOs. And I'm telling you as the public that it is because his enemies, the government, the synagogue of Satan, they are very well aware as to who Minister Farrakhan is in terms of his divine connection, in terms of his relation to this messianic role that they have been expecting. And all of that is connected to us as a people. This is a day and time when the Messiah that's been predicted by all the major faith traditions, by all the major prophecies, speak of a day and time when this Messiah figure would arise and challenge the satanic forces of the earth with his mouth, with the truth that he speaks. Well, we don't have to look any further because, again, we have the answers to these phenomena, and we're ready to showcase those answers this weekend, God willing, at Mosque Maryam.
That's right.
Does this have any biblical references? The fact of this will that you're talking about, specifically like Ezekiel, how does that measure up, in 2024, and folks of our various religious faiths who speak about the Ezekiel will, et cetera, how do you, demonstrate that this is what this is talking about, this time, not in a past time?
Excellent. All of the prophecies of all the major faith traditions, of all the major religions and the scriptures that they believe in, be it Judaism, Christianity, Islam, all of these faiths have prophecies that speak of God's intervention in human affairs, and part of the clearest signs, part of the clearest evidences of God's intervention in human affairs involves his accompaniment with some heavenly flying vessels. This is all throughout the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation. It is all throughout the Holy Qur'an, where God is being depicted as operating from some flying craft that fly in the sky. So it's at a point now that any religious believer of any of the major religions, we would be hypocritical as hell if we say we believe in these scriptures and don't believe in the fulfillment of these scriptures just because it was presented by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the honorable Minister Farrakhan. So this is why the Nation of Islam is distinguished, because none of the religious leaders, none of the religious teachings can even explain what these scriptures are talking about. But it is only the Nation of Islam who shows and proves to the world that all those things we read about in the scriptures, about God flying chariots, about this flying wheel within a wheel, accompanied by some other wheels that house the throne of God in the book of Ezekiel. All these scriptures that talk about a new Jerusalem in the sky in the New Testament, that talk about God's flying thrones and clouds in the Old Testament, where God travels and dwells within. None of the religions would make any sense at all if it is not grounded in the truth that is being represented by the Honorable Minister Farrakhan and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So in truth, I think I understand why the leaders and scholars don't want to engage us on this topic, because it would prove that Elijah Muhammad was right about everything, including the fact that he said he was taught by God in person.
Right. Brother Illia Rashad Muhammad is on with us, brothers and sisters. He has a documentary called The Coming of God. It is free this weekend. You can come, anybody, all walks of life. We want you to come and find out this fascinating information that the Nation of Islam has been revealing to the world openly. And we want you to come see it for yourself. 7351 South Stony Island Avenue this Saturday, 7 o'clock. It's free. The documentary is free, so come on out. And Brother Illia, Brother Richard.
Hey, DJ, what's our number in case anybody want to call in?
Okay, yes, sir. 773-591-1690, 593. I'm sorry, 773-591-1690, 773-591-1690. Real quick, Brother Naba'a sent me this message. You wanted everybody to know this about, and you to respond to this, brother, about the federal government over the last few years, they have admitted that these craft exist and they have a secret unit inside the Defense Department. Can you talk about that?
Yes, sir. It has been only the last few years, maybe the last 3 or 4 years or so, that government personnel through the Pentagon and through the Senate have come forth and openly admitted for the first time that these crafts exist. However, they've had secret programs since the 40s, since they arrested the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So that's nothing new. So when you hear the government personnel coming out trying to make it seem as though they are being transparent by admitting that these planes exist, that is just a trick, because they have been knowing that these planes exist ever since they arrested the Honorable Elijah Muhammad when they encountered these planes. And they have been working diligently to make sure that the public does not know the truth about these planes. This is why they call them UFOs and UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomena. Well, hell, they've never been unidentified to us. The Nation of Islam has been telling you what these things were before the public even started seeing the damn plane. So they are no mystery to us. And it's hypocritical for government personnel who act like you're so concerned about what these planes are, but then you won't even invite the source of these crafts that introduce them to the world. You won't even engage us in dialogue. So we know that you're hypocritical to begin with, and your job is to keep the public from knowing the truth about it. And I say this to other UFO researchers, because there are good-hearted UFO researchers who really want the truth, and they expect that the government should disclose the truth about the UFO phenomena. Well, I honestly say to those UFO researchers and to historians and really anybody that wants to know the truth about this phenomena, you would be foolish as heck trying to go to the government for the truth when all you have to do is go right there to the source, your brothers and sisters of the Nation of Islam, and we can give you the full answers to what this phenomena is.
So, Brother Illia, after you've shown it, will this documentary be made open to the public, like for sale or anything like that, or streamed or anything like that? Or is it already that?
It will be made available the day after the finale screening in Chicago. I'm so glad you asked me about it too, big brother, because there's been such a big anticipation, for when this is going to be released for online streaming and for DVD for those who wish to do DVDs, because it is a commemorative thing too. We'll have DVDs available, but we will make it available for online streaming on July 21st. That's this upcoming weekend, Sunday. And that'll be available through our website at nationbrothers.com. So if anybody's interested, they can just check us out at nationbrothers.com. And we have other resources available. Our books, UFOs and the Nation of Islam, that is one of the most highly acclaimed books pertaining to the UFO phenomena, and several other resources available on our website, nationbrothers.com. So it will be made available, God willing, this weekend. And guess what? We're so thankful that we've been invited by Minister Ishmael, the national assistant to the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, because I believe he has invited me to deliver the message this Sunday at Mosque Maryam, and we intend to really expound on this very important subject matter regarding the Messiah. So our Sunday message at Mosque Maryam intends to be, quote, signs of the Messiah. And we encourage everybody in the Chicago area. We encourage our people to come on out because this is a very important subject because everybody in all the major faith traditions are expecting that messianic figure, whether he is the Mashiach in the Jewish tradition, whether he is the Christ or Messiah in the Christian tradition, whether he is the Al-Masih or Mahdi in the Islamic tradition. All the prophecies await the arise of this messianic figure. And we hope and we want to bring clarity to this very important subject matter. So you all come by Mosque Maryam, 7351 South Stony Island this Sunday at 10 a.m. And we're really going to, in fact, we're going to answer the truth about that subject matter as well, God willing.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Brother Illia. And when brothers are listening to this, brothers and sisters listening, man, it's like, what this got to do with me, man? You know, I'm out here trying to get a job. We got the election coming up. You know, what does this have to do with the average brother and sister that will come and hear the message? Can you explain why they need to hear this and what it's going to do for them?
It has everything to do with every brother and sister who thinks like that. Because while we are becoming distracted from our immediate needs, you know, because everybody got to eat, we worry about our jobs and paying bills and elections and all of this type of things, these are small items in relation to the bigger picture that God has come for us and has offered us solutions to all our problems. And what those planes represent is a power and an intelligence and a wisdom that is divinely superior to anything in this world, but that power has the solutions for us and all our problems. So this is directly related to every black man and brown man and woman that we have among us. So don't think that it's not important just because you didn't see them talking about it on your timeline or you didn't hear them talking about this on the 5 o'clock news. Just remember, your government has expended trillions of dollars to keep this truth away from you. So that should let you know that it's important as hell. So,
right.
That's true.
But common sense should let us know that since there is a power and an intelligence and a technology that is more superior than anything in this world, it behooves us to want to know more about that technology and that power and that wisdom, especially if we know that that power, technology, and wisdom is on our side. That's what part of the big secret is. So, yes, this has everything to do with us. In fact, we would be negligent if we keep ignoring the fact that a solution has come to raise us up so that we can get ourselves out of this horrible condition.
Yeah. Brother James G., I'll let you close out in just a minute, but let's get
I think we got a
call in.
Yeah.
Got a quick call in real quick. Brother David, you're on WVON on StraightWords with Brother Illia Rashad. Go right ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Yes, thank you. A couple points I'd like to make first. First, Brother Illia Rashad, if you could please talk about the book that you have written, the wonderful book, UFOs in the Nation of Islam, the source, proof, and the reality of the wheels. Excellent work. I would like that to be mentioned and announced. Also, the prelude, I believe, to this magnificent program taking place this Saturday on your website that I was actually able to see. Please mention that for those listening so they can also be aware of that and watch that as we prepare for this magnificent presentation. Now, my question very quickly, like you said, brother, in us making an effort, like you said, it would behoove us to understand this reality. And as I make an effort to wrap my mind around it, I read at one point that this plane was actually financed, manufactured, and launched from this very planet. And when I think about that, such an enormous, dreadful-looking plane being launched from this planet, in your deep study of this particular subject, have you come across, my question, any historical or significant events that may have taken place on Earth that would cause a cover, a cloak, or some type of shrouding of this incredible spherical craft being launched from this planet?
Beautiful, beautiful. First of all, thank you so much, Brother David. Yeah. And it seems like I need to be paying you. You bringing up
Go ahead, Brother David.
And so I do appreciate that. But these are resources that we have produced and provided for the edification of our people, for the education of our people. And our book, UFOs and the Nation of Islam, we wrote that in 2013. And this is one of the first major research-based books that really gets to the source of the UFO phenomena. So we are distinguished in that regard because none of the UFO researchers and historians, they never get to the source. They make their money keeping this thing a mystery and just talking about the unknown. Well, hell, we come to show and prove that we know exactly what this is, and we bring the receipt for it. So UFOs and the Nation of Islam, the source, proof, and reality of the wheel is a work that we're very proud of. And apparently the Nation of Islam seems to be very proud of this because it shows and proves and vindicates the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. And by the way, that resource is available on our website as well, nationbrothers.com. Brother David also brought up the first documentary in this series, which is the first episode of Answered, subtitled The Prelude. The Prelude we released a little over a year ago. That was part one of this documentary series. And it gives somewhat of a cursory overview of the UFO phenomena and its relation to the Nation of Islam, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Farrakhan, and our people, you know, and what they're here for. That is only an hour long, that particular episode. It, too, can be accessed through our website, nationbrothers.com. And that kind of leads us to this one that we have out now, Answered, which is really part two, The Coming of God. And this one, I'll tell you, it's 2 hours long. It's easy to follow, but it's very comprehensive. And it's not only a documentary and movie in that sense, but I've heard people tell me, really, it's so good that it's also a course of study.
Yeah, Brother Illia, we're up on the top of the clock, and we want to give you an opportunity to once again repeat how folks can contact you and let everybody know it's this Saturday, 7 p.m. at Mosque Maryam. Come out and see this great documentary. Can you give us a closing word and tell folks how they can find you again, please, Brother Illia?
Absolutely. And once again, let me thank you, Brother James, Brother BJ, and to Brother Naba'a for having me on this show. And I'm certain it won't be the last time. But I hope to see and hear from some of you this weekend. Again, we have the documentary Answered, The Coming of God, being shown for the finale screening at Mosque Maryam, 7351 South Stony Island Avenue at 7 p.m. All are invited, free admission. And we'll also be there.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That website. That website is nationbrothers.com, where you can check out our resources and stay connected with us. Nationbrothers.com. So we hope to hear from each of you very soon.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much, dear brother. You've been a wonderful presentation tonight. I know I'm geeked up. I'm ready to see the documentary, and I'm sure our audience is as well. May Allah continue. And we'll talk to you, inshallah, on this weekend. Brother BJ.
Yes, sir. We're at the top of the hour. Coming up, Brother Brian Muhammad. We're going to talk about international affairs on Straight Words. Coming up, brothers and sisters. Stay right here. You're on WVON 1690, the talk of Chicago.